She never spoke during the entire flight. Silent. Invisible. Then both engines exploded. The co-pilot collapsed. The captain's desperate voice filled the cabin, "Any pilots here?" Everyone froze in terror. Then the quiet girl from the back stood up. She walked to the cockpit. She took the controls. Nobody knew she was about to save them all. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The airplane was full of people. Flight 892 was flying from Los Angeles to Chicago. It was a normal Tuesday morning. The sun was shining outside the windows. In seat 18C, a young woman sat alone. Her name was Sarah Miller, but nobody on the plane knew that. Nobody asked her name. Nobody talked to her at all. Sarah was 28 years old. She wore a gray sweater and blue jeans. Her brown hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She carried a small black bag. She looked like any other passenger. But Sarah was not like other passengers. She had a secret. A big secret. Sarah stared out the window as people found their seats. A man sat down next to her in seat 18B. He was wearing a business suit. He looked at Sarah for a second, then looked at his phone. He did not say hello. A woman with 2 children sat in the row behind Sarah. The children were loud. They kicked Sarah's seat. Sarah did not turn around. She did not complain. She just sat quietly and looked out the window. The flight attendant walked down the aisle. She was checking seat belts. When she reached Sarah's row, she looked at Sarah's seatbelt. It was buckled. The flight attendant moved on without speaking. Sarah closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Flying was hard for her now. Very hard. 1 year ago, Sarah loved flying. She flew almost every day. But that was before the accident. Before everything changed. Before she lost the person she loved most in the world. Now, Sarah was afraid. Her hands shook a little. Her heart beat fast. She wanted to be anywhere except on this airplane. But Sarah needed to face her fear. She needed to fly again. So she bought a ticket. She got on the plane. She sat in her seat. She tried to be brave. The airplane engine started. The sound was loud. Sarah felt the vibration through her seat. She squeezed her eyes shut tighter. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard," the captain's voice said through the speakers. "This is Captain James Rodriguez. We'll be flying at 35,000 feet today. Weather looks good. We should arrive in Chicago on time." The airplane moved backward from the gate. Then it rolled forward, heading toward the runway. Sarah's breathing got faster. She felt dizzy. But she told herself to stay calm. "It's just a short flight," she whispered to herself. "Just 3 hours. You can do this." The businessman next to her put in his earphones. He did not notice Sarah's fear. Nobody noticed. The airplane reached the runway. The engines got louder. 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 Then they were moving fast. Racing down the runway. The nose lifted up. The ground fell away below them. They were flying. Sarah kept her eyes closed for 10 whole minutes. Finally, when the airplane was smooth and steady in the sky, she opened them. She looked out the window. She saw clouds below like white cotton. "Maybe it will be okay," she thought. "Maybe I can do this." She was wrong. 30 minutes into the flight, Sarah was starting to relax. The airplane was flying smoothly. The flight attendants were serving drinks. Everything seemed normal. Then it happened. Boom! A huge explosion shook the airplane. The sound was so loud that Sarah's ears hurt. People screamed. Bags fell from the overhead bins. A woman's coffee spilled everywhere. The airplane tilted to the left. Hard. Sarah grabbed her armrest. Her heart pounded. Warning bells rang in the cockpit. Sarah could hear them from her seat. She had heard those bells before. She knew what they meant. Something was very, very wrong. The businessman next to Sarah looked scared. His face was white. "What's happening?" he shouted. Sarah did not answer. She was listening. Feeling. Understanding. The airplane shook and shook. It felt like a car driving on a very bumpy road. But they were not on a road. They were 7 miles up in the sky. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. Yellow masks on long tubes. They swung back and forth. "Put on your masks," the flight attendant yelled. "Pull them down and breathe normally." People grabbed the masks. Some people were crying. Children were screaming. Everyone was scared. Sarah put on her mask. But she was not panicking like the others. She was thinking. Calculating. Her training was coming back to her, even though she had not used it in a year. She could feel the airplane struggling. The left side felt heavy. Wrong. She knew that feeling. "Engine failure," she said quietly to herself. "Left engine is gone." But then the airplane shook again. Even harder this time. Sarah's stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. "Not both engines. Please, not both." In the cockpit, Captain Rodriguez was fighting with the controls. Sweat poured down his face. Next to him, the co-pilot, Lisa Chen, was working the radio. "Mayday, mayday, mayday," Lisa said into her headset. "This is Flight 892. We have lost both left engines. Repeat, both left engines are gone. We are declaring an emergency." Captain Rodriguez pulled on the yoke. The airplane wanted to roll over. He had to stop it. His arms hurt from the effort. "Lisa, I need you to check the hydraulics," he said. His voice was shaking. Lisa looked at her instruments. Her eyes went wide. "Captain, we're losing hydraulic pressure. System A is at 0. System B is dropping fast." "No, no, no," Captain Rodriguez said. This was bad. Very bad. Without hydraulics, they could not control the airplane properly. It would be like driving a car with no steering wheel. He tried to turn the airplane to the right, toward the nearest airport. The controls were so heavy. Like pushing against a concrete wall. "Lisa, help me," he said. "Pull with me." Both pilots pulled on their yokes. Together, they slowly turned the airplane. But then Lisa made a sound. A gasp. A cry of pain. Captain Rodriguez looked over. Lisa was holding her chest. Her face was twisted in pain. "My chest," she said. "It hurts. Can't breathe." "Lisa!" Captain Rodriguez shouted. "Stay with me." But Lisa slumped forward in her seat. Her hands fell from the controls. She was unconscious. Captain Rodriguez was alone. Alone in the cockpit. Flying an airplane that was falling apart. With 200 people depending on him. He could not do this by himself. He knew it. Everyone on this airplane was going to die unless he got help. Captain Rodriguez reached for the public address system. His hand was shaking. He pressed the button. His voice came through the speakers in the cabin. Everyone heard it. Everyone listened. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain speaking." He paused. He did not want to scare people more than they already were. But he had no choice. "We have an emergency situation. My co-pilot is unconscious. I need help flying this airplane." People gasped. Some cried louder. Is there anyone on this airplane who is a pilot? Captain Rodriguez asked. Any pilot at all? If you are a pilot, please come to the front of the airplane right now. Please. We need help immediately. Silence. Nobody moved. The airplane shook and tilted. People held on to their seats. Please, the captain's voice said again. If there is any pilot on this airplane, we need you now. Sarah sat frozen in her seat. Her heart was pounding. Her mind was racing. She was a pilot. She knew how to fly. But she had not flown in a year. Not since the accident. Not since she lost her brother. Her brother, David, had been a pilot too. They flew together. They loved it. It was their dream. But then came the accident. A small plane. A training flight. Something went wrong. David died. Sarah stopped flying that day. She could not do it anymore. Every time she thought about flying, she saw David's face. She felt the pain. The loss. The fear. She promised herself she would never fly again. But now 200 people were going to die unless someone helped the captain. Sarah's hands gripped her armrests. She was shaking. I can't, she whispered. I can't do it. But then she heard a child crying behind her. A little girl, maybe 5 years old. The girl was saying, Mommy, I'm scared. I don't want to die. Sarah closed her eyes. She saw David's face in her mind. She heard his voice. Sarah, he seemed to say, you're the best pilot I know. You can do anything. Don't let fear win. Sarah opened her eyes. She unbuckled her seatbelt. She stood up. The businessman looked at her with surprise. Where are you going? He asked. Sarah did not answer. She walked toward the front of the airplane. Her legs felt weak, but she kept walking. A flight attendant tried to stop her. Ma'am, you need to sit down. I'm a pilot, Sarah said. Her voice was quiet but firm. Tell the captain I'm coming. The flight attendant's eyes went wide. She grabbed the phone to call the cockpit. Then she unlocked the cockpit door. Sarah stepped inside. The cockpit was chaos. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Alarms beeped. The co-pilot was slumped in her seat, still unconscious. Captain Rodriguez looked at Sarah. He saw a small, quiet woman in a gray sweater. He looked confused. Desperate. Are you really a pilot? He asked. Yes, Sarah said. She moved toward the co-pilot's seat. Let me help her first. Sarah checked Lisa's pulse. It was there. Weak but there. She's alive, Sarah said. Might be a heart attack. She needs a doctor. There's no time, Captain Rodriguez said. I need you here. Now. Can you fly this airplane? Sarah looked at the instrument panel. Everything made sense to her. She had flown planes like this before. Bigger planes. In worse situations. But that was before. Before the fear. Before the pain. Sarah started to say. The airplane shook violently. It was dropping. Falling from the sky. Sarah made her decision. She helped Lisa out of her seat. Then she sat down in the co-pilot's chair. Her hands found the controls. They felt familiar. Like coming home. Talk to me, Sarah said to Captain Rodriguez. What's our status? The captain blinked. This woman sounded like a real pilot. Professional. Calm. Both left engines are gone, he said quickly. Explosion took them out. We're flying on the right engines only, but they're straining. Hydraulic system is almost dead. We have maybe 20% control authority. The airplane wants to roll left constantly. Sarah scanned the instruments. She understood everything immediately. What's our altitude? She asked. 28,000 feet and dropping, Captain Rodriguez said. Losing about 1,000 feet per minute. Nearest airport? Denver. 90 miles northeast. But I don't know if we can make it. Sarah's mind was working fast. Calculating. Planning. We can make it, she said. But we need to do everything right. First, let's stop this roll. Sarah put her hands on the yoke. She felt the resistance. The airplane was fighting them. She pushed to the right. Hard. Her arms strained. Help me, she told Captain Rodriguez. Together. Push right. Both pilots pushed on their controls. Slowly, the airplane leveled out. Good, Sarah said. Now let's manage our power. Those right engines are working too hard. We need to reduce thrust slightly and increase our glide angle. But we'll lose altitude faster, Captain Rodriguez said. Yes, Sarah agreed. But if those engines overheat and fail, we lose everything. Trust me. Captain Rodriguez looked at her. He saw something in her eyes. Confidence. Experience. Knowledge. Okay, he said. I trust you. Sarah pulled back the throttles slightly. The engine's noise decreased a little. The airplane felt smoother. Better, she said. Now, let's turn toward Denver. Slow and steady. Don't fight the airplane. Work with it. Together, they turned the airplane. It took 2 whole minutes to complete a gentle turn. But they did it. Good teamwork, Sarah said. A small smile crossed her face. For the first time in a year, she felt like herself again. Denver approach, this is Flight 892, Captain Rodriguez said into the radio. We are inbound for emergency landing. Request longest runway and all emergency equipment. Flight 892, Denver approach, the radio crackled back. We copy your emergency. Runway 16R is available. That's 16,000 feet long. All fire trucks are rolling. Medical teams are standing by. 16,000 feet, Sarah said. That's good. We'll need every inch. She looked at their altitude. They were at 15,000 feet now. Denver was still 50 miles away. Are we going to make it? Captain Rodriguez asked. Sarah did quick math in her head. It's going to be close. Very close. We're gliding at a 3-to-1 ratio. For every 3 miles forward, we drop 1 mile. We need to be at least 17,000 feet to make Denver comfortably. We're already below that, Captain Rodriguez said. I know, Sarah said calmly. So we need to be perfect. No mistakes. No wasted altitude. She adjusted their heading slightly. Every little correction mattered now. In the cabin, the flight attendants were preparing passengers for an emergency landing. They showed everyone the brace position. They moved people away from the exit rows and made sure all the strongest passengers were near the exits to help with evacuation. The passengers were scared, but they were listening. They knew their lives depended on doing everything right. The little girl who had been crying earlier was now quiet. Her mother held her tight. Is the pilot going to save us, Mommy? The girl asked. Yes, sweetie, her mother said. The pilots are very good. They're going to save us. In the cockpit, Sarah and Captain Rodriguez worked together like they had been flying as a team for years. Altitude 8,000 feet, Sarah called out. Distance to airport, 22 miles. We're not going to make it, Captain Rodriguez said. His voice was tight with worry. Yes, we are, Sarah said firmly. We just need to be smart. Look. She pointed at the map display. See that? There's a ridge of mountains to our left. If we fly just to the right of those mountains, we'll catch an updraft. Rising air from the wind hitting the mountains. It will give us extra lift. Maybe 500 feet of altitude. That's risky, Captain Rodriguez said. If we get it wrong, we'll hit the mountains. We won't get it wrong, Sarah said. Trust me. Captain Rodriguez looked at her. Then he nodded. Okay. You have the controls. Sarah adjusted their path. She aimed for the exact spot she wanted. She had done this before, years ago, in different mountains. She knew how air moved around terrain. The airplane flew closer to the mountains. Closer. Everyone in the cockpit held their breath. Then they felt it. A gentle push upward. The airplane started climbing. Not much. But enough. It's working. Captain Rodriguez said. We're gaining altitude. The updraft gave them 400 feet. It was not much, but it was enough. It was the difference between crashing short of the runway and making it to the airport. Altitude 7,500 feet, Sarah called out. Distance 15 miles. We're going to make it. Captain Rodriguez let out a breath he did not know he was holding. But they were not safe yet. Okay, Sarah said. Now comes the hard part. Landing this thing. She looked at their speed. Their descent rate. The wind. She calculated everything in her head. We're coming in fast, she said. No flaps means we can't slow down properly. We're going to touch down at 200 miles per hour. That's very fast. Will the landing gear hold? Captain Rodriguez asked. They're designed for it, Sarah said. But barely. We get one chance at this. If we bounce, we won't be able to go around. We don't have the power. One chance, Captain Rodriguez repeated. Got it. They could see the airport now. The runway looked like a thin line in the distance. Sarah talked them through the approach. We'll stay high until the last moment, then drop down fast. It's called a slip approach. It will feel wrong, but it's the only way to lose altitude quickly without gaining too much speed. I've never done a slip in a jet this big, Captain Rodriguez said. Neither have I, Sarah admitted. But I've done it in smaller planes. Same principles. At 2,000 feet, Sarah banked the airplane to the left while pushing the rudder to the right. The airplane flew sideways through the air. They were losing altitude fast now. Very fast. Passengers in the cabin screamed. It felt like they were going to crash. But Sarah knew what she was doing. At 500 feet, she leveled the airplane out. They were lined up perfectly with the runway. Landing gear down, Captain Rodriguez called out. 3 green lights appeared. The gear was down and locked. We're going to hit hard, Sarah warned. Tell the cabin to brace. Captain Rodriguez pressed the PA button. Brace. Brace. Brace, he shouted. In the cabin, everyone put their heads down and held on to their legs. The runway was rushing up at them. Fast. So fast. Sarah pulled back gently on the controls. Not too much. Just enough. The wheels touched the runway. Bang. 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 The landing was hard. The hardest landing anyone on that airplane had ever felt. But they were down. They were on the ground. Brakes. Maximum brakes. Sarah shouted. Both pilots pushed their brake pedals as hard as they could. The airplane was still going 180 miles per hour. The runway was racing past them. Would they stop in time? The end of the runway was coming closer. Closer. The airplane slowed. 150 miles per hour. 120, 100. 80. They passed the halfway point of the runway. Still going too fast. 60 miles per hour. 40, 30. Finally, with only 1,000 feet of runway left, the airplane stopped. They had made it. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The cockpit was silent except for the sound of warning beeps and the pilot's heavy breathing. Then Captain Rodriguez started laughing. Not because it was funny. But because they were alive. Against all odds, they were alive. "We did it," he said. "We actually did it." Sarah slumped back in her seat. Her hands were shaking now. The adrenaline was wearing off. She felt exhausted. But also, something else. Something she had not felt in a long time. She felt proud. Outside, fire trucks surrounded the airplane. Firefighters sprayed foam on the destroyed engines. Ambulances waited for passengers. The cabin door opened. Passengers began evacuating down the slides. Everyone was okay. Some minor injuries from the hard landing, but nobody was seriously hurt. It was a miracle. Inside the cockpit, the flight attendant came to check on the pilots. She saw Lisa Chen, still unconscious but breathing. She saw Captain Rodriguez, exhausted but smiling. And she saw Sarah. The quiet woman from seat 18C. The woman nobody had noticed. The woman who had saved them all. "Who are you?" the flight attendant asked Sarah. Sarah stood up slowly. "My name is Sarah Miller," she said quietly. I'm just a pilot." "Just a pilot?" Captain Rodriguez said. "You're the best pilot I've ever seen. You just flew an impossible approach and saved 200 lives. Where did you learn to fly like that?" Sarah smiled sadly. "My brother taught me. He was the best pilot I knew." "Was?" Captain Rodriguez noticed the past tense. "He died," Sarah said softly. 1 year ago. In a flying accident. After that, I couldn't fly anymore. I was too scared. Too sad. I quit. I thought I would never fly again. But you did fly again, Captain Rodriguez said gently. Today. When it mattered most. Sarah nodded. Tears filled her eyes. I heard a little girl crying. She was scared. She reminded me of my brother. When he was young. And I knew I had to help. I had to try. For him. For everyone. The flight attendant was crying now too. You saved my life, she said. You saved all of us. Thank you. Paramedics came to take Lisa Chen to the hospital. She was waking up now, confused but alive. She would be okay. Captain Rodriguez and Sarah climbed out of the airplane. When they reached the ground, something amazing happened. All the passengers were standing there. Waiting. When they saw Sarah, they started clapping. Then cheering. Then crying and hugging. The little girl who had been scared ran to Sarah. She hugged Sarah's legs. Thank you for saving us, the little girl said. Sarah knelt down. She hugged the girl back. You saved me too, Sarah whispered. You reminded me why I love flying. Thank you. The news reporters came quickly. They wanted to interview the hero pilot. The quiet woman who had appeared from nowhere to save everyone. Sarah did not want to be on TV. She was not comfortable with attention. But Captain Rodriguez convinced her. People need to hear your story, he said. You show that even when we're afraid, even when we've lost something important, we can still be brave. We can still help others. So Sarah talked to the reporters. She told them about her brother. About her fear. About choosing to help despite that fear. Her story was on the news that night. By the next morning, everyone in the country knew about Sarah Miller, the quiet hero. Sarah's phone rang all day. Old friends calling. Family calling. And flying companies. Lots of flying companies. They all wanted Sarah to fly for them. They said she was exactly the kind of pilot they needed. Skilled. Brave. Calm under pressure. Sarah did not know what to say. She still felt scared of flying. But she also felt something new. Something good. She felt alive again. 3 days after the emergency, Captain Rodriguez called Sarah. "I want you to meet someone," he said. They met at a small airport outside Denver. Captain Rodriguez took Sarah to a hangar. Inside was a small airplane. Just a simple, 2-seat training plane. "My plane," Captain Rodriguez explained. "I learned to fly in a plane just like this. Sometimes, when I need to remember why I love flying, I come here. I fly low and slow over the mountains. Just me and the sky. It helps." He handed Sarah the keys. "Go fly," he said. "Alone. No pressure. No emergency. Just fly. See how it feels." Sarah took the keys. Her hands were shaking, but she walked to the airplane. She did the pre-flight check. Everything her brother had taught her. She remembered his voice. "Always check everything, Sarah. The airplane will take care of you if you take care of it." She climbed into the pilot's seat. She started the engine. The sound filled her with memories. Some painful. But some beautiful too. She taxied to the runway. She pushed the throttle forward. The little airplane accelerated. The wheels left the ground. Sarah was flying. She flew over the mountains. She saw the sun setting behind the peaks. The sky was painted orange and pink and purple. And Sarah started crying. But these were not sad tears. They were healing tears. She talked out loud, as if her brother could hear her. "I did it, David. I flew again. I saved people. I remembered everything you taught me. I think I'm going to be okay now." The wind seemed to answer. Gentle. Loving. Free. Sarah flew for an hour. When she landed, she was smiling. Really smiling. For the first time in a year. Captain Rodriguez was waiting. He saw her face. He understood. "Welcome back, pilot," he said. 6 months later, Sarah was working as a pilot again. A major airline hired her. Captain Rodriguez recommended her personally. On her first official flight, Sarah walked through the terminal in her new pilot uniform. People stared and pointed. Some recognized her from the news. When she reached the gate, the other pilot was waiting. A woman named Captain Jennifer Ross. "You must be Sarah Miller," Captain Ross said with a smile. "I've heard a lot about you." "The honor is mine," Sarah said. They flew to Miami. The flight was smooth and beautiful. That night, Sarah called Captain Rodriguez. "I flew my first official flight today," she told him. "How did it feel?" he asked. Sarah smiled. It felt like coming home. The anniversary of her brother's death was hard. Sarah visited his grave with flowers. "I'm flying again, David," she said. "I was so scared. But then I had to choose. Help people or hide from my fear. I chose to help. And it saved me." She touched the gravestone. "I fly for both of us now. Every time I take off, you're with me. Always." Later that day, Sarah flew her scheduled flight. Los Angeles to Chicago. The same route as Flight 892. But this time, Sarah was in the captain's seat. Her own command. Her own airplane. As they flew over Nebraska, where the emergency had happened, Sarah looked out the window. She remembered the fear. The choice. The courage she found. A flight attendant came to the cockpit with coffee. "Beautiful day for flying, Captain Miller," she said. "Every day is beautiful for flying," Sarah replied with a smile. Sarah had learned something important. Fear does not mean you are weak. Courage is doing what needs to be done, even when you are afraid. She learned that our greatest pain can become our greatest strength. That healing is possible. That hope is real. And she learned that sometimes, the quiet ones are the strongest of all. Sarah flew her airplane through the clear blue sky. She was home. She was free. She was exactly where she belonged. 5 years passed since that emergency landing on Flight 892. Sarah Miller's life had changed completely. She was now one of the most respected captains in the airline industry. But more than that, she had become something else. Something bigger. Sarah started a program called Wings of Courage. It was a special training program for pilots who had experienced trauma. Pilots who had accidents. Pilots who lost loved ones. Pilots who were afraid to fly again. Sarah understood their pain. She had lived through it. And she wanted to help others find their way back to the sky, just like she had. The program was free. Sarah used the money she earned from speaking events and book deals. Yes, she had written a book about her experience. It was called The Quiet Hero. The book became a bestseller. People around the world read Sarah's story and found inspiration in it. Every month, Sarah met with a new group of pilots. They came from everywhere. Some were young. Some were old. Some had flown for decades. Some had just started. But they all shared one thing: fear. On a bright Monday morning, Sarah stood in front of 12 pilots. They sat in a classroom at a small training center near Denver. The same city where Sarah had made her emergency landing 5 years ago. "Welcome to Wings of Courage," Sarah said with a warm smile. "I know why you're here. You're here because flying became hard. Maybe you had an accident. Maybe you lost someone. Maybe you just woke up one day and the fear was too much." The pilots nodded. Some had tears in their eyes. "I know how you feel," Sarah continued. 5 years ago, I was sitting where you are now. I thought I would never fly again. I thought my career was over. My passion was dead. My brother was gone, and with him, my courage disappeared too." She walked to the window and looked out at the runway. A small plane was taking off. Rising into the blue sky. "But then something happened," Sarah said. "An emergency forced me to make a choice. Hide in my fear, or stand up and help. I chose to help. And in that moment, I found myself again." Sarah turned back to face the group. "That's what we're going to do here. We're going to help you find yourselves again. Not by forgetting your pain. Not by pretending the fear doesn't exist. But by accepting it. By understanding that fear and courage can exist together." Over the next 4 weeks, Sarah worked with each pilot individually. She took them up in small planes. She let them feel the controls again. She talked them through their fears. She shared her own struggles. One pilot, a man named Marcus, had lost his co-pilot in a crash 3 years ago. He had not touched an airplane since. "I see his face every time I close my eyes," Marcus told Sarah during a counseling session. "How can I fly when every moment reminds me of what I lost?" Sarah looked at him with understanding eyes. "You don't forget him by flying," she said softly. "You honor him. Every safe landing. Every passenger you bring home safely. That's his legacy living through you." Those words changed something in Marcus. The next day, He flew for the first time in 3 years. He cried during the flight. But he also smiled. Another pilot, a young woman named Elena, had survived a terrible storm that nearly killed her and her passengers. Now she was afraid of clouds. Afraid of weather. Afraid of the sky itself. Sarah took Elena up on a cloudy day. "The clouds are not your enemy," Sarah explained as they flew through the gray mist. "Fear makes them seem dangerous. But look." She pointed to the instruments. "Everything is normal. The airplane doesn't care about clouds. It flies through them every day." Elena gripped the controls with white knuckles. But slowly, as they flew through cloud after cloud, her grip relaxed. By the end of the flight, she was smiling. "I forgot how beautiful it is up here," Elena said. Sarah's program became famous in the aviation world. Pilots from different countries came to learn from her. Airlines started sending pilots to her program. The FAA recognized Wings of Courage as an official rehabilitation program for traumatized pilots. But Sarah never forgot why she started it. She remembered the scared woman sitting in seat 18C. The woman who thought her flying days were over. The woman who found courage when she needed it most. One day, Sarah received a letter. It was from the little girl who had been on Flight 892. The girl who Sarah heard crying. The girl who gave Sarah the courage to stand up. The letter said, "Dear Captain Miller, my name is Emma. I was 5 years old when you saved my life on Flight 892. I am 10 now. I want to be a pilot like you when I grow up. You showed me that heroes are not always loud. Sometimes they are quiet. Sometimes they are scared. But they help anyway. Thank you for teaching me that. Love, Emma." Sarah read the letter 3 times. Tears rolled down her face. But they were happy tears. She wrote back to Emma, "Dear Emma, thank you for your beautiful letter. You saved my life too, even though you didn't know it. Your cry for help reminded me why flying matters. It's not about the airplanes. It's about the people. Keep dreaming about flying. And remember, being scared is okay. Being brave means flying anyway. Your friend, Captain Sarah Miller." That night, Sarah stood on her balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, she imagined her brother David was watching. Proud. Happy. Free. "We did it, David," she whispered to the sky. "We're still flying. Both of us. Always." A shooting star streaked across the night. Sarah smiled. She chose to believe it was David's way of saying, "I know, little sister. I know." Sarah Miller had learned the greatest lesson of her life. Tragedy can break us. Loss can devastate us. Fear can stop us. But if we choose courage, even small courage, even quiet courage, we can find our way back. Back to ourselves. Back to our purpose. Back to the sky. And sometimes, the people who seem the most broken are actually the strongest. Because they have survived. They have felt the worst pain and kept breathing. They have faced their fears and found a way forward. Sarah was that person. The quiet girl who took the controls. The scared pilot who saved 200 lives. The broken woman who became whole again. 10 years after Flight 892, Sarah stood at a podium in front of thousands of people. It was the International Aviation Safety Conference. She had been invited as the keynote speaker. "Good evening," Sarah began. Her voice was confident now. Strong. "My name is Captain Sarah Miller. 10 years ago, I was the quietest person on an airplane. Today, I want to tell you why quiet people matter. Why broken people matter. Why second chances matter." She told her story. The audience listened in complete silence. Some cried. Some smiled. Everyone felt inspired. When she finished, The room exploded in applause. People stood up. They cheered. They celebrated not just Sarah's heroism, but her humanity. Her vulnerability. Her courage to keep going after tragedy. After the speech, a young man approached Sarah. He looked nervous. "Captain Miller," he said. "My name is James. I'm a student pilot. But I'm thinking about quitting. I had a bad landing last week. I'm scared I'm not good enough." Sarah looked at him with kind eyes. "Do you love flying?" she asked. "More than anything," James said. "Then you're good enough," Sarah replied. "Fear doesn't mean you're not good enough. Fear means you're human. The best pilots are the ones who feel fear and fly anyway. Don't quit, James. The sky needs you." James left with tears in his eyes. But also with new determination. That night, Sarah received a call from Captain Rodriguez. They still talked regularly. He was retired now, but they remained close friends. "I saw your speech online," Rodriguez said. "Sarah, I'm so proud of you. You've helped hundreds of pilots. You've saved countless lives through your program. You've become everything I knew you could be." "Thank you, Michael," Sarah said. "Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That day on Flight 892, you didn't just let me help. You trusted me completely. That trust changed my life." "You changed mine too," Rodriguez said warmly. "You taught me that asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. You saved us all that day, Sarah. Not just with your flying skills, but with your courage." They talked for another hour. About life. About flying. About the journey from fear to freedom. When Sarah hung up, she walked to her window. Outside, the airport lights twinkled in the distance. Planes took off and landed. Each one carrying people with stories. With fears. With hopes. With dreams. Sarah thought about her own journey. From the scared girl in seat 18C to the confident captain she was today. From silence to strength. From trauma to triumph. She had learned so many lessons. That healing takes time, but it does come. That asking for help is brave, not weak. That our lowest moments can become our greatest testimonies. That one act of courage can change everything. That the people we lose never really leave us, they live on in our choices, our actions, our love. Sarah picked up her phone and typed a message to her Wings of Courage group chat. Over 200 pilots were now part of this community. Pilots who had been broken and found healing. Pilots who supported each other. Pilots who proved that second chances are real. She typed, "Remember, everyone. You are not defined by your worst moment. You are defined by what you do after that moment. Keep flying. Keep growing. Keep believing. The sky is waiting for you." Within minutes, responses flooded in. Heart emojis. Thank you messages. Stories of flights completed. Of fears conquered. Of lives rebuilt. Sarah smiled. This was her purpose. This was why she had survived Flight 892. Not just to save those 200 people on that day, but to save countless others through her story, her program, her hope. Before bed, Sarah did what she did every night. She looked at a photo of her brother David on her nightstand. He was smiling in his pilot uniform. Young. Happy. Full of dreams. "Good night, David," she whispered. "I flew today. I helped people today. I honored you today. See you in the sky." She turned off the light and closed her eyes. And for the first time in 10 years, she fell asleep without fear. Without nightmares. Without pain. Just peace. Because Sarah Miller had finally learned the truth, we are all more than our trauma. We are all more than our fear. We are all capable of extraordinary courage when the moment demands it. And sometimes, the quietest voice can speak the loudest truth. Sometimes, the most broken heart can heal the most people. Sometimes, the scared passenger can become the hero captain. Sarah Miller was proof of that. The quiet girl who took the controls. The scared pilot who found her courage. The broken woman who became whole. The hero who never stopped flying.